If you want to invest in Africa, you have to go on the ground. It's very difficult to invest in something that you don't know.
Meet Joe, a dynamic entrepreneur, investor, and co-founder of HoaQ, a global network bridging African startups with the diaspora for investment and business growth. He does not stop there. He's also the founder of Borderless, an innovative online investment platform. Joe is making African investment opportunities more accessible and trusted for individuals worldwide.
People tend to invest in people that they know and like. Many people that have given me money in the past, it's not because I'm the best entrepreneur, but it's purely because they know and like me, and they believe that I can make something work.
His mission? To empower entrepreneurs across Africa and the diaspora, reshaping the narrative around African businesses and investments.
What I say to people is start small and start simple.
Today, he is here to answer the questions you sent in and share his insight on building wealth, securing investment, and creating opportunities in the African startup ecosystem.
Hello neighbors, my name is Joe Kinvi and I'm the founder of Borderless. At Borderless, we build the infrastructure for the African diaspora to invest together. What's one personal habit or ritual that keeps you focused while managing multiple ventures? Over the past couple of months, I've been reading quite a bit, and I tend to listen to audiobooks, but now I'm trying to spend more time away from the screen, so I've been reading actual books. The one I just finished is called Africa is Not a Country, which I highly recommend, and I just started reading a new book called The Art of Gathering. It's all about community, so it really ties into what I do, which is community and Africans investing in Africa, and I tend to read a lot to improve my knowledge about the two topics. How do Borderless and HoaQ address the challenges faced by the African diaspora when investing or building businesses? I'll break this question into two parts. The first one is what HoaQ does. HoaQ has two separate missions. The first one is to enable diaspora investors to invest on the continent. And with that capital, we essentially support founders with capital and more. And when you look at Borderless, there are a lot of communities like HoaQ that require technology to do what they do. And Borderless essentially provides the infrastructure for investment communities and in the future, normal communities to do a ton of things. And most of that is to support the community. Running a community is very hard, and we've seen it for the past 5 years that we've been running HoaQ, and the aim is to make it easier for the next generation of communities. So we provide onboarding, KYC, money movement, reporting, and a ton of tools for community managers to essentially have a very easy way to manage their communities. Now, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs in Africa looking to attract diaspora investors? I'll break this into maybe three parts. The first one is returns. Every normal investor wants returns. So if you want to get capital from diaspora investors, you need to figure out what sort of return do you plan to give them. The second one is impact. I think impact is inherent to anybody doing business in Africa, so it's definitely worth looking at investors who care about impact. Third one is trust. When an investor gives you money, they want to make sure that you're doing right by them and they can trust you. I just want to preface that if you want to essentially leverage technology to raise money for your startup, Borderless does that as well. So the third part is you can use Borderless. If you could tell people one thing about wealth building that's not obvious, what would it be? Wealth building takes time. It's a patience game. It's all about compound. So to build wealth, you do it for a very long time, not just once off. The best companies and the best investors tend to invest for the long term. So when you look at Warren Buffett, apparently he's never sold some stocks in like Coca-Cola. And he's been doing that for a very long time. So if you want to build wealth, do it for a very long time and be consistent at it. What trends are you seeing in Africa and diaspora startup that excite you? First one is a merchant of record. Merchant of records, for people who don't know, is essentially when you are a non-African business and you want to do business in Africa without having to set up offices across 54 countries. You look for somebody who will represent you on the ground, and that's what you call a merchant of record. We're seeing a lot of businesses who want to do business in Africa without having to incorporate, and we're seeing a lot of fintechs that are building for that space. I'm super excited about the merchant of record business, and it helps global merchants collect easily in Africa. The second one is we're seeing a lot of African businesses that are building not just for their country, but for the world. So yes, a lot of businesses are building for the world. And with the rise of AI, we are going to see a lot of great African founders building for the US, building for Asia, building for Europe. And I'm super excited to see a lot of it happen. For those looking to invest in the African startup ecosystem, what are the key things they should research before diving in? I wouldn't even talk about research. I'll talk about if you want to go and invest in Africa, start with something that you already know. For example, if you are a doctor, you know a lot about health, and you want to invest in Africa, the easiest way to start is in a health venture because you have a pre-existing knowledge that will help you catch up with the African ecosystem. The other thing I say to people is if you want to invest in Africa, you have to go on the ground. It's very difficult to invest in something that you don't know. And if you care about Kenya, you care about Tanzania, or you care about Togo, I recommend you taking a trip. These countries are beautiful, and there's a lot of opportunities on the ground, and I think you can become a much better investor by spending more time in Africa. For someone who wants to create generational wealth, what should their investment strategy look like? This is a very, very good question. What I say to people is start small and start simple. The most important thing is to start. So the sooner you start, the quicker you'll start building wealth. Start with the safer asset classes. So we talk about real estate, the S&P 500, or something where you put money into that you will most likely not lose money. Treasury bills, things that will keep you growing. Now, this thing will not make outstanding returns, but you also not lose money. The higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you want to build generational wealth, remember, generational. A generation is 25 years. So you need to be investing for at least 25 years to be able to build generational wealth. So take into account the lifespan of investment. It takes a while, but compound interest is your best friend. 5% compound adds up very quickly. I know a lot of people have the tendency to look at things that are super risky, like angel investing, but the higher the risk, the higher the return. I would rather make 5% on $1,000 than try to double my money and lose the $1,000. So please pick wisely if you're thinking about generational wealth. How can entrepreneurs effectively pitch their business ideas to investors in a way that grabs attention? Find investors that actually care about the space that you're building in. Going back to the doctor's example, if you're building something in health, it makes sense to pitch to a doctor that might have an understanding of the problem that you're solving. So find investors that care about your space, and they even have more advice to give you, and often they have capital to give you. Find people who know and like you. When you're building a business, at the start, it's just an idea. People tend to invest in people that they know and like. Many people that have given me money in the past, it's not because I'm the best entrepreneur, but it's purely because they know and like me, and they believe that I can make something work. So how do you find people that know and like you, but also understand the space that you're building in, care about the space that you're building in so that they can give you capital, but also advice as you continue to build your business? What are the biggest hurdles entrepreneurs face in Africa and the diaspora when raising capital? A lot of investors that African founders like myself pitch to don't understand the problem that we're solving. First issue. The second part of the problem is the people who understand the problem that we're solving don't have the money to give us. So it's a sort of catch 2022, and it's all about finding people who understand the problem that you're solving, but also have access to the capital. But when they don't have access to the capital or the size of the capital that you're looking for, it really helps to collect a bit of money from a lot of people. Again, $1,000 1,000 times, it's still $1 million. Or $1 million, one time is $1 million. So what I'm trying to say is you have to figure out how to get that money, whether it's from one person or 1,000 people. And what we do at HoaQ is essentially bring people together to back mostly African startups, because African founders like myself struggle with having access to the right type of funding from the right people. And we want to make it easier for the next generation of founders to get capital that they need to grow their businesses. What's the best way to get started with investing on platforms like Borderless if you're new to the world of online investing? If you're new to the world of online investing, I recommend education. Please do not come to Borderless. Go learn about the asset classes that you care about before you put money into it. Now, after you have the education and you come to Borderless, find a community that you want to be part of. I always recommend people to start small. Start small, start simple. And over time, the more you do, the more you learn, and you can increase the size of the amounts that you want to invest. Also, look at the safer asset classes like real estate that we currently have on the platform. Look at real estate, look at things that are safer before you graduate to the risky asset classes, because remember, the higher the risk, the higher the return. What are some of the biggest challenges faced by tech entrepreneurs in Africa, and how can they overcome it? I don't think I have to talk about the funding anymore, because we just don't have enough funding, capital or access to capital in Africa. For context, there is a $402 billion funding gap in Africa when folks are building their businesses. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to close that gap. And what that means is the more capital we bring in, it will help go towards a lot of businesses. The other issue that a lot of us African founders face is the lack of infrastructure. And I'm not talking about roads, which is a problem, but I'm talking about digital infrastructure. A lot of businesses that I know are having to build the infrastructure themselves in order to build their businesses. And that is a very costly endeavor for anybody who's trying to build business. The third one is regulation. Regulation sucks in Africa. Sorry, kind of sucks. And it's very fragmented. So we need to do a lot of work to unify African regulation so that more businesses can do business across the continent, trade with other entrepreneurs, and sell to a wider market, which is at this stage 1.4 billion people. Yeah, the last one is expansion. Again, when regulation gets better, businesses can expand quite easily. You'd be surprised how difficult it is as a Nigerian business to expand to Benin, because Nigeria and Benin don't speak the same language. They don't have the same regulatory frameworks. They don't have the same currency. So expansion has always been an issue, and we can start with fixing the regulatory environment to make it easier. The one that it's gonna be a lot harder to solve is currencies. Africa has 54 countries, 33 currencies, and that is so many currencies that we're currently managing. And I'm hoping that with the rise of cryptocurrencies, stable coins, we can find a way to hopefully unify African currencies. How does someone build a network of investors, especially when they're just starting out and have no connection? LinkedIn is your best friend. LinkedIn, everybody you're looking for is on LinkedIn. I recommend, if you currently don't have an account, please create one and start connecting with people. You'll be surprised how many people will just accept your connection. But please remember that when you're on platforms like LinkedIn, folks want to know who you are. What do you care about? The more you put out there that's of interest to your potential investors, they will ultimately connect with you. I, for example, have managed to raise capital on LinkedIn by being vocal about the things that I care about, which is investing in Africa, community building, and I just don't talk about it. I do this on a daily basis. So while you're thinking about writing pieces, please don't forget to do the work, and you'll be surprised how many investors you can attract as you continuously do the work. What's a misconception about investments or startups that you'll hear all the time and wish people would stop believing? Paystack's exit was definitely a unicorn moment. Most startups fail, and please keep that in mind as you're going or thinking about building a startup. The last one is, it's harder than it looks. And I can tell you, because I'm currently building a startup, it's not for the faint-hearted. But it's very fulfilling as long as you care about what you do, you're super passionate, and you have the right support system around you to make it happen. More importantly, please have fun while doing it. Well, neighbors, I hope I've answered all your questions. My name is Joe Kinvi, and you can find me on X, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all at Joe Kinvi. And you can also learn more about Borderless on borderless.com. I write on Beehive, and the name of my newsletter is forbuilders.beehive.com. Thank you for watching, neighbors. Bye.